Jazz is a relatively small niche in the musical universe. It's been that way really since the advent of rock and roll. There was a time in the middle of the last century when jazz was the popular music. But tastes change, things change. It's sometimes regarded more as something that people study as opposed to something that maybe is certainly not a way to fame and fortune these days.
It's always scary because you know that you're never going to be able to make it as just a musician unless you're really, really, really good.
You know, this has been true in the classical world forever, that it's always, supposedly dying, but it's always there.
I'd say female and also queer musicians have a really hard time continuing in the field, regardless of what their skills are, simply because it feels like a boys' club.
It's either going to just suck forever, or there's going to be a tipping point that I think we're getting to.
My name is Eli. I'm a student at Grandview and Drake University. I play the clarinet and saxophone. In Iowa, I feel that we have some very strong programs, some of the best in the nation, and then we have some very weak programs, and I would say that's due to funding. I believe that most connections made through music are more meaningful than other connections. I think that music is powerful in a sense that it's in every culture. And you can't really have life without music. I think that Des Moines is a really good place to start because the community is smaller. The big names in Des Moines, like Nate Sparks, Max Wellman, Paul Litchi, it's easier to get to know them.
My name is Max Wellman, and I am one of the co-founders here at Noche. And we've been open for about 10 years now. And prior to that, I was, and still am, a musician and performer and producer. I was exposed to a lot of jazz and blues music through my relatives, my grandparents and my great aunt especially. And I didn't even really know that it was old music per se that we were listening to, but I loved it.
I think jazz is meant to be interpreted in the moment, and while recordings are wonderful to have, I think seeing jazz live is the best way to see jazz.
People don't go out as much as they used to for restaurants and bars and things like that, and you see less live music in kind of casual settings like that, which is a little bit of a bummer for the scene. A lot of people kind of work up their craft playing at that corner wine bar. That's really kind of where everything started from, age 14, 15, doing that stuff, playing in different venues and restaurants and parties and stuff. And that grew over time to doing real concert production, renting out theaters, and putting together more expansive concerts and stuff like that. And it's not like there aren't any places like that. I just know there are less than when I started.
I'd say I have quartet rehearsal for one quartet 4 times a week, for my other quartet 2 times a week. I have band rehearsal 3 times a week. I have jazz rehearsal 2 times a week, and I have a sectional for jazz and band, and that's 1 hour each. And then added rehearsals if we need it, for my quartets. And that's in settings with other people. It's not when I'm practicing. So on top of all of that, I have to practice for all of these groups I'm in, and on top, my own personal practice.
Something that I feel really good about Noche is how we have combined and elevated the local scene and its traditions and history with the scene at large. We host a lot of touring groups that we can be really proud of, but we've also been able to provide this stage for some of Iowa's best artists and developed audiences for those artists and shows.
My name's Dennis Green. I'm the general manager of KCCK, Iowa's jazz radio station, the only jazz radio station in Iowa, one of actually only about 24 jazz radio stations in the entire country. And we're located here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, but we have listeners all over the state and all over the world. I had the opportunity to apply here at KCCK, and I thought, well, I know jazz. I could totally manage that station. Of course, I got here and discovered that what I knew about jazz was like this much. So it's been a learning curve from day one, but the more I learn about jazz, the more I love it.
You know, jazz is such a loaded word and a giant tent of a genre. It can mean so many different things to different people, and they can all be right. And for a long time, that was built on, okay, we're going to have this era, this movement, and then it's very completely replaced by the next movement in the genre, and on we go from whatever, the 1920s through to the 70s or 80s.
I'd say jazz surrounds us, especially in R&B right now. It's just the new form of jazz, and especially like spoken word music.
Jazz reinvents itself pretty much every generation because every group of musicians grow up listening to different kinds of music that they grew up with.
I believe that it will be around to stay, and I think it looks way different than it did 50 years ago, and certainly 100 years ago when it was, you know, the most popular music in the world. That part of it is always going to be part of the legacy of the music, but even though it's niche now, it has that very strong die-hard following.
We also like to make sure that we have local voices and local musicians on the radio. And again, that's not something that Spotify can do.
You know, there's always going to be the draw to those major places, and they are always going to be what they are. You know, New York is New York, Chicago, New Orleans is New Orleans. But any place, if you dig deep enough, I mean, there is a local heritage and culture there. And Des Moines is not unique in that regard. There's a lot more here than people think there's going to be. And I think that that's been true for a very long time.
I think we just need to invest more in our students, especially in low-income areas.
They always say, you never go into an artistic field because you want to. You go into an artistic field because you have to. Because there is no way that you could be satisfied with your life if you weren't doing art in some fashion.
I'd say being in music has saved my life. And I think that if I didn't have such a strong relationship with music, that I wouldn't be here right now.
And then it is an absolute requirement in order for it to survive and thrive that other people start to then dream on it as well.
It's not for you to necessarily become a professional musician, but our goal is that you'll be involved in music in some way your whole life. I think the biggest thing that we can all do is just keep making and promoting the music, because once it goes away, you can never get it back.